Instagram stories for Monday, July 7th. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. We have a lot of social media news to talk about today. First, TikTok is reportedly developing a US-only version of the app. Instagram has launched an even deeper integration with Spotify, so people can tell what songs you're listening to all the time. Also, Instagram is starting to make content available on search engines. So if someone searches for a particular piece of content, what you've posted on Instagram may come up starting July 10th. We'll talk about what that means and how potentially, if you want to turn that off. And Ashley Coffey and I get into some AI news stories talking about Meta, Mark Zuckerberg's plans to have AI run your life, and Meta's AI on Facebook using photos in your camera roll that you may have not given them access to. All of that and more on today's episode, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Welcome back. Let's start with the TikTok news. According to a new report from the news outlet The Information, TikTok is in the midst of developing a new US-only version of the app, while still working on a deal with a US partner, as required from the United States government in the law that was enacted Protecting Americans from Foreign Adversary-Controlled Applications Act. According to the report from The Information, the US-only version of TikTok is currently being referred to as M2 internally and is scheduled to launch in early September. Americans would then be required to download this updated, spun-off version of the app to keep using TikTok, but there would be some time in order to transition, up until March 2026. The question, how is this going to be different from the TikTok that we're using today? It's unclear, but essentially, TikTok's owner ByteDance would still have control over the app in every other region while still meeting the requirements for the United States. There isn't much more information available beyond that, but when I know more, I will definitely share it. Let's move on to the Instagram news. Instagram has announced an improvement to its Spotify music sharing options within Stories. So before this, if you made an Instagram story and you linked to a Spotify song, if you tapped on that link, you would have to open up the Spotify app in order to listen to the song. But now, when you share music using the Spotify music sticker within Instagram Stories, viewers can listen to it directly inside the Instagram app. Additionally, Instagram has added the ability to share what you're currently listening to on Spotify direct in Stories, giving another option similar to what they did in Instagram DM Notes with the Spotify integration last month. And lastly, Instagram has announced that starting July 10th, content that's on Instagram will start to appear in search engine results. If you go into your Instagram settings and you look under Account Privacy, there's an option there to allow public photos and videos to appear in search engine results. Now this toggle explains in more detail, quote, "When this is on, search engines like Google can show your public photos and videos in search results outside of Instagram. When this is off, links to your publicly shared content can still appear in search results." You have the option to learn more. So let's just back up. If you are an Instagram user whose account is set to private, you don't have to worry about this. This will never be on. But if you don't want your content to be found by search engines, you would want to turn that off, but links still can appear outside of the Instagram app for people to find. If you tap the Learn More button, you go to the Instagram Help Center, which gives a little bit more detail about why, even though you've turned this setting off, search engines may still find your content. The article is called "Why Search Engines Might Index Public Instagram Photos and Videos." The article explains, search indexing is the process of organizing and storing information from the internet so that third-party search engines can find it quickly and efficiently when you search for something. When content is indexed by third-party search engines, they can show it in their search engine results to anyone on the internet. Meta does not own or control third-party search engines. Third-party search engines and others who access your content through search engine results may use your information at their discretion. The article continues, Instagram generally requests that search engines like Google and Microsoft Bing do not index the content of users' photos and videos from stories, reels, posts, and highlights. However, we allow search engines to index photos and videos from public reels and posts that were uploaded or posted from January 1st, 2020 onwards from accounts that meet all criteria listed below. Number 1, the account holder is currently over 18. Number 2, the account is currently public. Number 3, the account is currently a professional account. I'll just pause there and say a professional account means both a business account and a creator account. The article continues, once an account meets the criteria for allowing search engines to index, all of the photos and videos from public reels and posts posted by the account can be indexed, including those from before you turned 18. I just want to pause and say that's a really key point. If you are searching for a job and you are concerned about content that you may have made in your younger years, you might want to consider archiving that content or doing something else so that it's no longer available. So what if you hate this and you want to turn it off? Well, Instagram does provide instructions on how to do that, and they give the steps going through your account privacy settings to turn off the availability of your public photos and videos to appear in search engine results. You could also set your account to private, and you could set your account from professional to personal. They do explain that it may take time for these third-party search engines to de-index and remove your public photo and video content from search results, even if you delete your Instagram account. Your profile information, including your username, profile picture, and bio information, may still appear in third-party search engine results. I will link to this article so that you can read more. It's definitely an excellent reference. Okay, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, Ashley Coffey and I are going to talk about some Meta AI news. Stick around. Welcome back. Recently, Ashley Coffey and I have been working together to launch a new podcast called AI News You Should Know About. In this week's edition, we talk about some of the AI news that has to do with Meta. Here's the clip.
This is something that blew my mind, and I knew this day was coming. Facebook is asking to use Meta AI on photos in your camera roll that you haven't yet shared. Wow, red flags flying all over the place. And so let's dive into it. Facebook is asking its users to access their phone's camera roll to automatically suggest AI-generated edited versions of their photos, including ones that haven't been uploaded to Facebook yet. So the feature is being suggested when people are creating a new story on the app. And as the pop-up message that they get explains, when you click allow, you let Facebook generate new ideas from your camera roll, things like collages, recaps, AI restylings, or photo themes. And to work, Facebook says it will upload media from your camera roll to its cloud on an ongoing basis, meaning its servers, based on information like time, location, or themes. So just remember that when you're clicking on allow, you are agreeing to Meta's terms of service. And this also allows your media and your facial features, i.e., biometric data, your eyes, the view of your face, everything. It allows that to be analyzed by Meta's AI. And the company will additionally use the date and presence of people or objects in your photos to craft its creative ideas. So this is a really good example of the slippery slope that comes with sharing our personal media with AI providers. I think of it as they're just data. It's data repository, data troves for companies. So this is interesting, and people are saying it's really giving them an unfair AI advantage in the race of AI, being able to tap into users' camera rolls like that. And unfortunately for end users, and these tech companies rush to stay ahead, it's not always clear what they're agreeing to when features like this appear. So definitely take a look at this. If you go into your settings, you can limit the amount of permissions you give to photos. I myself, depending on the application, I will specifically limit the permissions to maybe an album or like maybe a handful of photos, but not my entire camera roll, because my camera roll is 66,000 photos and like 5,000 videos. Like there's no way I want them to have access to all of that. So what are your thoughts, Daniel?
I actually want to get into this because I think about it from two perspectives. Number one is if you're a content creator, the ability to say, look at the content that's on my phone and give me ideas is something that I actually think is a fascinating way to approach it. I saw someone say that they recently uploaded their camera roll into ChatGPT and said, give me 10 ideas for content for the month of July. And they took those suggestions and started to build content. And I thought, well, that's not something I ever thought of before. So I see it from that angle. But of course, to your point, does Meta need to know anything more about you than they already do? I personally have posted many pictures and videos of myself to my stories, to my reels, to all kinds. So Instagram, Facebook, Meta, they have a lot of my photo and video data already. I don't necessarily want to give them more, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Do you think it's worth the trade-off of giving Meta more of your data in exchange for content creation, ideas, tips, suggestions, making reels for you, that kind of thing?
No, is my quick answer to that. I agree with you about the convenience aspect. I would prefer choice on the platform of if I want to be able to leverage opt into this feature, then I want to do it for just a folder of photos, not my entire camera roll. Because if you think
Sure.
about it, in our digital footprint, so much inferences can be made out of our camera roll, like what we take pictures of, what we find meaningful to us, the relationships that we carry, where we've been, what the kind of
Yes.
screenshots, the stuff that we're into. Like you could literally build a digital footprint out of someone just by looking at their camera roll. So on that front, that data would go to advertisers. And as an individual, like I don't want someone else benefiting off of that work that I chose to make that photo. I chose to be present in that moment to capture that content. No, thank you. But on the flip side, I would like the ability to have just a bucket of photos and content to say, I give you permission to look at this stuff, but not everything. But it's one or the other is the thing. When you opt in, you can't necessarily choose.
Yeah, so I actually did a little test after we talked about Google Photos on the show last week. I actually asked Google Photos, look at the camera or the pictures that I've uploaded recently and give me some content ideas based on them. And it gave me some fantastic suggestions. So again, I do think that it makes sense for somewhere where you're uploading your photos and videos already that you feel comfortable with. I know you're an Apple user, so I'm guessing you use Apple Photos and you store your photos in
Yep.
the iCloud, right? And
Yep.
so if there was an AI in there that could generate content for you based on the photos you give into your iCloud, would you use that?
It's already doing it. Apple is already doing that.
Right.
So if there's something that I don't want in there, then you can choose to say like, do not show X album, like whatever. If it's like, family photos and you're like, I don't want to share that with the public, you could change that. But it does get awkward sometimes. 'Cause it might be a screenshot or something like an accidental photo. And it's like 3 years ago. And it's this
Right.
like close up of someone that I have no idea who they are. And I'm like, this is not relevant to me. So it's already there and I'm okay with it because it's just limited to me in the context of if I want to use it, it's there.
Right. And to your point, Apple is not selling your data to other advertisers. You pay for however amount of storage you have within the iCloud. So that makes sense. That's a much more, I'll say walled garden, but much more secure approach to having your photos in the cloud and having a service access them.
And on that, and I like that. On to piggyback on the walled garden, there's going to be trade-offs, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So if everyone listening, just remember that.
All right. Well, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about how someone built an ad blocker for real life using Snapchat spectacles and Mark Zuckerberg wanting to ruin your life using AI even more. Stick around. Welcome back. Continuing with the articles that we're discussing, the next one, let's move on to the last story we're going to talk about today. Mark Zuckerberg already knows your life, and now he wants his AI to run it. So
Woo.
the CEO of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, has been building a team of AI power hires. He's trying to anticipate where is AI going so that he can be there before that everyone else catches up. What the team is working on is building a new generation of AI models that can reason, plan, adapt, the kind that doesn't just answer your questions the way we're used to now with Siri and OK Google, but instead run your life. And since, like we talked about earlier in this episode, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp having so much data about you, they're looking at this next generation to be able to schedule meetings for you, organize your travel and book it for you, already edit your resume by the time it finds a job that it thinks you would like. You don't have to pick your clothes. This AI looks at your calendar and then makes determinations for you. All these kinds of things I think are very exciting, but also, like we talked about before, pros and cons, some drawbacks. Ashley, I'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah, this is interesting. It's just, Mark Zuckerberg's quest to be the data lord. of everything, which I'm like, I don't know if I can support that. But it's an interesting world that we live in here because I do think people are leveraging ChatGPT more as like their assistant. Like if they were to have a personal assistant or if they were to have like unbiased bestie, right? They're using it as a way to kind of have an extension of themselves. Having AI anticipate your needs, like we are so far away from being able to safely do that. Just like with, there was a case about it. Actually, I'll be able to share this with you later, but there was a case where there was a court that was using predictive models, not in the US. There was using predictive models to determine the viability of a person who was convicted of a crime to be a repeat offender. And
that's Minority Report level stuff here.
Yes, exactly. And it made mistakes. So, it's a slippery slope. So I do have caution there. I think maybe small steps are awesome. But again, we need to ask ourselves, like, who owns the data? And how much autonomy do we have over the agency of our own data? So interesting things here.
Yeah, I really like the fact that we can have a good discourse about this and not disagree. We can disagree, but also knowing where we each have our own separate views, I think is really enjoyable.
Agreed. And that's what we hope to explore on this show is that it's okay to disagree. We're going to have our different opposing opinions, but you know what? We can still have a great conversation about technology and AI, and we love having you along to join us. So that's it for our AI news you should know about this week. You can find us on social media to connect, and we'd love to hear what you think of the show and really how we can make it better. You can find me on Instagram at Ashley R. Coffee 89 and my podcast, Coffee and Code, on Apple Music, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Coffee and Code and subscribe to the show to be notified when new episodes go live over there.
And you can find me at Daniel Hill Media on Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. And thank you for listening, and come back next week for more AI news you should know about.
Let me tell you a couple things that you should know about me. A product manager but do not have a bachelor's degree, but actually that's factually a fraction of me. Another fraction's posting content irregular and irrationally. Still probably won't get a job at the Gram. They forgot, they don't know, or don't care who I am. That's why you never see me at the parties and events. My lack of followers must make me irrelevant. Don't have a course, a book to sell to make a bag of grand. Not a social media marketer, don't represent any brands. Plain to see, don't have an agency, but I got a lot of spam. Just putting in my work without the glitz and glam. Won't catch me eating fish unless it's shrimp or clam. No six pack, no risk that there's a gym card in my hand. Don't have a full-time job, but I got a lot of plans. Stay plotting, dropping knowledge on TikTok and Instagram.